understood now the citizen science, many technology, you must have exposure to all those things by this fourth day of this training program. Today I will discuss with you about how we can use this technology or any technology can be helpful in mitigating the natural disasters, especially in the mountains where we are right now, we are sitting here. I don't know how much you have experience of dealing with the natural disasters in day-to-day life, but those who live in the mountains, especially in the Indian subcontinent, they have many times, especially during rainy seasons or the summer seasons, you experiences many events which leads to a near disaster, and that may affect your life. Basic premise today is that we will talk about little bit of climate change. That we will go through that how this climate change may affect or may influence or may trigger the natural disasters, and how these where the state resources are poor, not distributed properly, not adequate resources to deal with the many type of information dealing or the mitigating disasters. So how to deal with all those things. And then we will see that how a simple mobile phone application can help in getting the information as and when required. So this is the basic premise of our 1 hour today. Right now, we almost everybody believe that climate change is happening, and I have given you the just example that this is the CO2 is increasing. This is the basic foundation, and our temperature is increasing. You can see the anomalies and then an increasing trend of temperature, especially when this is global average surface temperature. So it means things are happening that may influence your natural cycle of the climate and the weather locally. So what it does basically, IPCC says that it can change, it can contribute to many things, including frequency, intensity, many things with those can lead to unprecedented extreme events. And this is really a serious issue. Extreme events are not unknown to the human society. Since its inception, we have faced many extreme events. But the new phenomena is that we are experiencing their intensity in a quite frequent manner, and especially the area coverage and the timings, many things. All these things are happening very frequently now. This is the one example of 2015. You can see that globally how many significant events occurred. Those have influenced the life of many people, many persons, all across the globe. Hurricane, thunderstorms, high temperature, drought, you name anything. Only selected significant events are given here. So you will understand this phenomena is happening all across the globe, and this climate change is influencing or triggering these events and anomalies. Now go by the number, find out. This is summary of the entire globe. Those who can associate with them, please see that. Nepal, India, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Nepal, India. Natural disasters by number of deaths, very high number. In 2015 alone, total affected people and total economic damage. This is an outlier case of Nepal, which everybody knows that a major earthquake happened there. Otherwise, the rest of them see the heat wave, flood, then it's again earthquake. But if you see the flood in India and for many other events of the 2015, a large number of people were affected. So this is a major issue, major concern, and those who belongs to India in this room, they know that how we deal with the disasters or any kind of such events when it happens. To give you a glimpse of the area we are talking about, this is the entire Indian subcontinent, India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. And especially when we talk about this is the Himalayan mountain ranges from here to here. Now I will give you a few examples from the mountains. You see the first in Nepal. The lake was formed near to Mount Everest. In 1985, this moraine, it released 8 million cubic meter of water. A huge water came out of this lake. A small hydro power project was, because it's a very high altitude area, so nothing much was there, especially. But even then, the 5 lives were taken. One entire village was washed away. The same lake, same type of lake, not exactly the same lake. It happened in the Tibet area in China, and it reached to India in Himachal Pradesh. 97, 2000 and 2005 repeatedly in a very short duration. All these things happen just because of the glacial lake outburst. Those who are well aware of, this is still in the memory, 2013, the major disaster in Uttarakhand, talked all across the country or in the globe, why it happened. The basic foundation for this event was the anomaly between the westerlies and the Indian monsoon. Initially, many reports came that it was a glacial lake outburst, heavy rain, cloud burst, but nothing happened like that. Finally, it was concluded. Then the monsoon, if you understand those who know about this Indian subcontinent climate, I will explain a little bit. We are primarily monsoon-based climate. This is in Indian subcontinent, Sri Lanka and the Himalaya. So monsoon comes from this side. The Himalaya stops it, and we have a rainy season. And but from this side of the Iran, this side from the Iran, we have a westerly. So we have a many cloud burst. Many heavy snowfall and the rains during winters in Jammu Kashmir and the adjacent area. So these are two different phenomena. But what happened in 2013? Our western monsoon got delayed and westerlies were advanced. Their confluence above the Uttarakhand was the major devastating feature in that year, and you go by the numbers, it's a major disaster in the recent history of the human. These are the very small number, but unfortunately the number is very high. Unclaimed report says it is more than 10,000 people died in this year. Still, there are many bodies we are recovering. And if you see the glimpse in Dehradun, so next to Haridwar, you are very close by of this area, Rishikesh. You go and see that how big this statue is there. This level of flood was the plains. So you can understand where this originated from there. what was the level of velocity. Out of 365 days, 360 days sunny in the cold desert areas of the Leh Ladakh. No rains, almost no rain zone, known as cold desert. We have this kind of weather in 2010. Such extreme event. Can you think of where there is no rain, there is a flood like this? Then in Jammu and Kashmir, the whole valley stranded. 2014, city flooded very heavily. Water rose more than 25 feet, and the speed was very high. Within 20 minutes, the houses in the lowlands were submerged. All these extreme events. It is not that this happened very recently. We have many historical evidences that these things happen. But we also have the lessons about the preparedness when the technology was used long back and we were able to rescue, we were able to save the lives using small things. If you go by these texts, you will realize that in 1857, 1869 and 1893, repeatedly something happened in a river valley which blocked the course of the river, and there was a formation of a lake. What lesson that time the British government, that time it was pre-independence of India, what we learned? First time, a huge landslide and heavy damage in this valley. Then again, this formed a lake. Then 73 people killed and 2 large wooden bridge washed. That time a wooden bridge means a lot in rest of the country. But when this happened again in 1890, it was a very huge water reservoir, artificial water reservoir, which remained almost for a year. It was a very, very big artificial reservoir. But that time the people, the administration were sensitive and they tried to make some measures. So basically we can call it a preparedness for the event. They were knowing that this one day it will happen. The day was not known. So they were prepared for it. When it happened, you can think of the magnitude of the event. 130 kilometers downstream, water level raised up to 50 meters. Imagine 50 meters, what does it mean? Haridwar, next to you, water level rose nearly 4 meters. So how much water was dispersed that time? But do damage to human life because of an advanced warning system. In 1894, today we are very good in technology, even then. And what was that? A simple telephone line. And the simple measure was taken. A man was stationed there 24 hours for this water level. A light telegraph line was erected. This was the purpose of warning. Just to when this lake is broken, that time you have to warn the downstream, like more than 150 kilometers downstream. Then they also put some precautionary pillars. So they must be knowing that now these days we do this modeling, that how much if a water dam is broken, then how much water flood will be, what the water level will rise. But that time they have estimated and put that measuring pillar that if that warning comes true, you have to go beyond this pillar, above this pillar. And just to save their resources, all the suspension bridge from the valley were taken out. And the route, pilgrim route, this is the route which goes to all the famous pilgrims in this area. So there are number thousands and thousands people visit. So their routes were diverted because at that very moment. So a simple telegraph line and a man stationed there saved the life of so many people. This is one type of story dealing with the water. Now, we will see another example how this climate influences the forest part. I am giving you the other example. The forest fire happens in this region very frequently, and since time immemorial they are present, but their magnitude is increasing day by day. And there is a lot of controversy about who is doing what. Somebody says forest department is interested, forest department says somebody is interested to make a fire in the forest. But we are not going in this debate. We know that these are natural and anthropogenic both in the. But the most important thing is that it is influenced by the climatic conditions. And we have a very repeated presence of these high magnitudes. And of course, our state resources are very poor in these, as well as the mountainous topography and distribution of state resources. It is so big even that this is covered by the international audience at various scales. What triggers or what facilitates the occurrence of a forest fire in a very large area? If you realize that climate, top 16 warmest year 1880 to 2015. Very recent years. This basically facilitates. We will see that how it does. Now on the other side we have a very warm weather and we have the forest. I am giving an example of the state. We are sitting here. But if you see the entire state, you have a lot of forest all across the area distributed. These are the high altitude areas where you don't have any kind of a tree. So, and these are the well cultivated areas where there is most of the agriculture and the townships are there. And in between, if you are seeing this porous white color, it is basically the villages situated in. So the forest is interspersed with the man. Both are living side by side in the landscape. Now you can see this forest is everywhere. But if you see the type of forest, these are the most two striking things. The half of the forest type, they are primarily subtropical pine forest and tropical moist deciduous. Both have a tendency of leaf fall during the start of summer. Characteristic of plant and the climate. When they interact together, what happens? All these are the administrative boundaries or divisions of forest in this state. See the number and the area of forest fire in 2016. Usually, scientists say that plant or vegetation type of an area is the product of climate, soil, and many other things. But the same thing can yield to very different. And the extent is not small. I have given you the example of the state, but if you realize this satellite image, all across the foothills in the central India, plus the other part of the Asia. All these are forest fire of a lake. Signatures captured by satellite images. And if you see the photographs from our local area, you may find that it is start increasing, and the entire forest is under fire. At one hand, we say we are very poor in the resources to deal with this kind of magnitude. On other side, it was so much hype and so much talked about that Indian Air Force put a helicopter chopper to carry water from this lake and put on the forest affected area. However, this was not very effective way of dealing with this. So let's see how this climate influences this forest fire. If you realize this is the fall of 2015 and this is the start of 2016. We have this winter time and the temperature decreases and this is started this year also. Then after it increases. It's a usual, it's a natural type of a cycle. But what supported to the forest fire was the minimal or no winter rains this year. A warm temperature with no moisture. So the fire events started even in the early winters, which were not supposed to. And they went very high during the summer time. This is the peak time when these two major forest types, they have a leaf fall and the litter is accumulated on the floor, which is dry, very good condition for happening of a fire event. Warm, dry, fuel, everything is there. Only thing is that you have to ignite. The source of ignition could be anything. So now here is the case where we can deal with the people. We can have information on the both sides and we can prepare ourselves or our resources to mitigate these kind of. If I will say, you can think of doing exercise, apply your mind and make few points that you wish to mitigate, you wish to utilize that information to mitigate the forest fire, or you want to be prepared to become a forest fire manager. Can you do this? Can you make a simple rule or simple point that you want from anyone who is living there, who is traveling there, who can guide you, or anybody can provide you the information in the simplest way from using their phone or any other mechanism? Can you make a list, checklist, or a point list, or a pointer list? Yes or no? Yes, then you can make, and if somebody can. Okay, we have two houses here. So what we will do? Then we also have a situation where the forest fire is happening. So now we want information from the citizens or the people that on two conditions. One group, either of both the sides can choose themselves which circle they want to represent. And please come with some point that the simplest way of thinking that if the person can communicate information regarding these two situations. We can have 10 minutes to discuss among between your groups. So who is on the which side? Naturally the left is left, right is right. Of the circle, or otherwise your preferences. Huh? Natural. Okay, so you are happy with this. So I think we can you can discuss among yourself and find out the parameter, the information you want from a person from the field who is not a specialist. Please remember these things. Keep yourself in that position that I am not a specialist of that information, but the information a specialist can utilize to mitigate or to for preparedness. At least 5. Don't go beyond 5. At least 5 points of information which you want to retrieve from the field using a mobile or any other mechanism, which is very easy to communicate, but very easy to understand by a specialist and can be written. Are we choosing anyone to represent those 5 points? From this side and one from that side? This is before fire and this is when the fire is happening. Please remember this. We have the date. Before fire. What? This is my task, which is not good and that will lead to a function. So how to capture that this is happening in us? First I showed you with the instrumentation. There was a internal which is capturing the somebody can analyze. But every system of okay. You have to think of how you can capture this information without any instrument. You are to find out that this is everywhere you are from, you are the same. You don't have the same right? This information, how having a skin, how you can set that you don't have rainbow, you don't have temperature, not everyone. So, but you can think of some those people we are talking about village. Somebody did this. I know why. So he can communicate with the situation regarding the only point of information we communicate these days. Okay, when we stuck there, so we can call on these numbers, mobile numbers. So they will be able to put a bulldozer or something like that to clear the road or something happens. This is the level of information exchange with the people and by the people. So right now, this is okay, I am living in citizen sciences, you know much better. But the mechanism we have proposed to mitigate our forest fire, we have forest governance very different in the state. We have a state forest, we have forest within the boundary, demarcated as a forest, the village forest, and we have people to look after that village forest. That is forest council, one panchayat we call it here. It's a council of 10 members in each forest, and we have a very huge number of 12,000. 12,000 village councils spread all across in this forest area. 12,000 multiplied by 10, a huge number. If we can rope in these people, we can take their services, volunteer services, or we can make them more vigilant. So we can have many eyes in the field. And what we propose is that is the simplest technology which is available to everybody today. Both type of a simple phone versus a smartphone. So what we are doing this side, red circuit, if we can develop this from the information we are receiving, and the blue circuit, responses and ground realities, we can mitigate the forest fire in a very effective way. And this is the entire framework we have proposed, and this is going to be implemented in the state, leaving it. But before that, we also try to put a very simple mobile application, a smartphone application. Primarily, it was developed for monitoring purposes, but later on we realized that the type of information is the same. So we can add these features into this. And this is also available at Google Play Store. What it does, it basically does nothing. These are the few more features. It can upload data, database backup, and if you want to release your mobile memory, so you can delete all the old data. It does nothing. Initially, you can choose any of these criteria, then it captures the date, latitude, longitude, and additionally you can put some comments here, and it takes a photo. So basically it is a concern. The first is concern, the second is when, third is where, and fourth is evidence. These four things you require at the most. So it is a very simple. You don't have to put a real mind that how to communicate, what to communicate, to whom to communicate. And it also works offline. Whenever you are in the field, there is no mobile network, but you can use it, and later on when you are in the mobile network, you can upload your data. And you can also see that whatever the data I have contributed, that is visible to you. Right now I have put some sample data. This is my campus area, and we have some data from the test data. Because this is just very recently it was launched. Even then you can zoom in the information, and you can see what kind of information somebody has put. The fauna, flora, forest types, or something like that. But before implementing these things, as this gentleman said, we want to know the forest types, we want to know the forest, the road approach, and the all these things we have to do it for free. We have to do it much more before implementing this framework. Even we have to register the mobile numbers of all the village council members at first stage. So when we will do this registration, this will exist for at least 5 years, because their term is for 5 years. So at that time, you have all the information regarding the state, that where, which village, the person who is texting to you, the information is coming from, so you can put an attribute, give a special attribute to this. Then we have this numerical scale, a proxy indicator. And then the training of these people. How to communicate your keyword, what does it mean? And the simple handouts. To give them training, to put them in the villages, to put these handouts at different locations. So anybody can communicate what is the information I am communicating and by which numbers. The most important thing in executing is this. Application development is okay, very good. But who will implement that? So at least we need a command center. At central level, state headquarters, district headquarters, and the subordinate offices. So the flow of information is reaching to one place, then it is following a chain of command to the certain levels, and the people are responding as and when required in the different disasters. But most important still is the gray area, is artificial intelligence in this business. I am sending one, I am clicking using this application one photo from one location. Whether it falls in my jurisdiction or somebody's jurisdiction, whether this information, this background is close to the photo which has been taken by this particular person. It is far away. I am clicking Masuri forest fire from here and giving my leg logs from this. This kind of artificial intelligence will. Still, this is a gray. So finally, we have a lot of prospects in utilizing the citizens, in getting the information, collecting the information, and the further flow of processed information to them for various purposes. So we have an ample scope, we have technology. Only thing is that we have to put in a logical way, in a framework where we can utilize it for the better benefits of the manufacturer. Thank you very much.